tide turns for everyone. The question is always the same. Which side of it are you on when it does? The tide, crimson tide. Hey, hey, crimson tide rolling through the city like a final answer given to every question that the warfare and the wrath were driven by. Every hollow tip, every hollow night, every arithmetic calculated in the dark. Every smoke and mirror trick survived. It all converges here at the top of the arc, where the city finally shows its hand and we hold the cards. She beside me like she said she would be back in year one, when I had nothing in the city, had everything including the good. Pointed at whatever I was trying to become. 380 nights from zero to the crimson tide we come from, that I built. Now we she never asked for any of it. She just loved to build it through the building. That's the honest bit. Every nigga that wrote me off is reading the result now. Every door they shut is just a wall I put a shelf on. Crimson tide, the mathematics came due, arithmetic paid in full. 380 reasons I'm still standing and she the most beautiful. Crimson tide, we rising up. Every door they close, we open from the cut. She been there from zero, now she sharing in the trust. 808 orchestra, feel it in your gut. Crimson tide, they finally see everything we built from nothing wasn't supposed to be. Now it's here, undeniable, paid in full. That's the decree. Crimson tide, this was always meant for me. Every track on this album was a chapter in the document of everything it cost to build something. When the continent of your existence starts at zero, real zero, not the kind they sell a struggle, the kind that takes a residence in the mind and stays there even after the safe is full, even after she's beside you in the morning in the city. Changes laughter from mockery to reverence, even in it stays the zero. It's still somewhere in the architecture of the days, and I think that's the point. You don't escape it, you carry it, and the weight of it becomes the force that makes you serious. By every single move, dead serious. From the first bar to the crimson tide, the creed it cost, the scar, the smoke and mirrors navigated the warfare, survived the rare season, endured the hollow nights, arrived and passed, and here we are. The tide turned in our favor, paid in full. Every day, every night, every labor by crimson tide, we rising up. Every door they close, we open from the cut. She been there from zero, now she sharing in the trust. 808 orchestra, feel it in your gut. Crimson tide, they finally see everything we built from nothing wasn't supposed to be. Now it's here, undeniable, paid in full. That's the decree. Crimson tide, this was always meant for me. When the tide turns, stand in it. Don't run from it, don't perform for it. Just stand in it and let it be real. 380 nights, she stayed through 380 nights. That's the tide, that's the only tide that matters. Woo! The tide, let's go, let's go. Crimson tide cresting at the highest point we reach. Everything in line, the hollow tips the creed. I preach to myself in the dark before anyone was listening. The devil's arithmetic tonight, City glisten with the rain at 4 a.m. when everything was hollow. The obituary they wrote 3 times, the path I chose to follow. Through the smoke and mirrors, through the godless and the savage, through the wrath and through the warfare. Every piece of this mosaic leads right here, leads to hurt, leads to this exact moment. And I knew it back at zero, but I couldn't show it. Dead serious from the concrete. Crimson tide arrived, 380 reasons I'm still standing, and we survive. Crimson tide, we rising up. Every door they close, we open from the cut. She been there from zero, now she sharing in the trust. 808 orchestra, feel it in your gut. Crimson tide, they see everything we built from nothing was supposed to be. Now it's here, undeniable, paid in full. That's the decree. Crimson tide, this was always meant for me. Crimson tide, always meant for me.